Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we sift through a stack of sources to really get you the core insights, making sure you're, well, truly well-informed.
That's the goal.
And today, we're plunging headfirst into the pretty intense world of covert operations. It kicks off with this incredibly visceral image. Just picture it. An operative, Spinks, crammed into the boot of a car, totally suffocating, reliving a past nightmare.
Yeah, claustrophobic, terrifying.
And he's caught in this awful internal debate. If he gave in to his paranoia, he would blow the mission. If his fears were justified, his actions would be validated. It just perfectly captures that psychological battle, doesn't it? The one fought inside your own head.
Absolutely. It's not just external threats.
So our deep dive today explores this shadowy world. We're pulling from our sources to map out this complex web espionage, kidnapping, and chillingly, the threat of biological warfare.
Big stuff.
But beyond the thriller plot points, our mission here is to really untangle the lives of these agents, their training, the huge personal sacrifices, and the human drama underneath all the national security stuff.
And for you listening, we want to pull out those key nuggets of knowledge. We want you to grasp the psychological toll, the often blurry moral lines in intelligence work, and just how deeply personal lives get tangled up with global threats.
Right.
So we're not just looking at what happened, but why it matters to the people involved and what it tells us about the wider world of their dangerous jobs.
Okay, let's start with that first domino falling. And it's Spinks again, back in that awful situation.
Second time in a car boot.
Yeah, the second time. The first was just 4 months before. Apparently a rushed sort of experimental op. He described it as one of the worst days of his life. Really cemented that claustrophobia.
And now he's back there.
Back there, shot, injured, all those feelings flooding back.
And that immediate crisis, it triggers a specific term in the intelligence world.
Kuttuc.
Kuttuc.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the code name for a kidnapped operative in Northern Ireland. And our sources, they really stress the implications. It's devastating.
How so?
Well, for the operation, it means everything that operative touched is instantly compromised. Politically, operationally, a nightmare. But for the person involved, the sources say it's something more immediate and much more horrific.
Right. You hear about Graham in the ops room, the frantic calls. They know immediately how bad it is.
No question. High-level response needed, fast.
Meanwhile, somewhere else, on what seems like just another dull stakeout, we meet Aggy.
Aggy.
She's young, has distinctly feline eyes, the sources say, but her mannerisms are, well, quite masculine. Her selection process sounds absolutely brutal.
How so?
Taught and tested as if she were a man, but then right at the end, she's asked to cultivate her feminine side for cover. She apparently hates her cover name, Agatha, prefers nicknames like The Kid or later The Dyke.
And that's fascinating, isn't it, that paradox? The sources really highlight this demand on female operatives.
Yeah.
They have to match the men physically, mentally, basically ditch traditional gender roles in training. But then, for cover, they often need to perform a specific kind of femininity.
Right, turn it back on.
Exactly. And it's not just practical. It creates this deep psychological tension, a kind of fragmentation of identity. Makes deep cover incredibly difficult. It's a specific burden mentioned by women in these roles.
And her partner, Ed, he's the complete opposite.
A contrast, yeah.
Older guy, a bit of a dinosaur, got his rank through time served, not necessarily skill, always moaning, complaining about women in the field, Weren't any women when I first started.
Right. Scops at Aggie putting her feet up.
Yeah, exactly. But he has his use, apparently. He can blend perfectly into a boozy, smoke-filled working man's bar.
And that dynamic, Aggie and Ed, it shows you that challenge within these organizations, right?
Yeah.
Integrating the new, diverse skills with the old guard.
Makes sense.
Ed, even with his complaints, fills a niche. It shows you need all sorts, even the seemingly outdated types, to cover all the bases. The sources suggest this friction, while maybe annoying, actually broadens their operational reach.
Okay, let's pivot to another key player, Hank Monroe.
The American.
The American, yeah. U.S. Navy SEAL, new to the U.K., new to the Special Boat Service, the SBS elite stuff. But the family move was tough, especially for his wife, Catherine. She found their new home sparse and unwelcoming.
Understandable culture shock.
And when Hank gets to the SBS camp at Hamworthy with Marty, he's immediately thrown into this unique culture, learning Brit lingo like tea's wet and finding there's a big emphasis on the wives supporting each other, this tight-knit community thing.
And Hank's situation, it really illustrates those integration challenges, doesn't it? Bringing someone in from a different national force. But beyond The language and, the T, what the sources really stress is the hidden toll on the families. That encouragement for wives to support each other, it's not just being nice, it's a vital informal support system. It acknowledges the pressure extends way beyond the operative. It's like a silent agreement between spouses to share the load.
Wow. And Hank's training, even for a SEAL, it's designed to push him. He gets frustrated during a quiet period, wants action.
Eager to work.
Right. He goes through these realistic training scenarios, like an unexpected ambush exercise. His partner, Clemens, this joker with weird big-mouthed smirks, is even in on the setup.
And that kind of training, it's not just physical drills. It's about conditioning the mind, building resilience to chaos, even betrayal. These scenarios, often involving people you trust, they're specifically designed to test composure, adaptability under crazy stress, making split-second calls when trust just evaporates. It's blurring lines, even in training, to prep them for the real ambiguities out there.
Now, here's where it gets really murky. We meet Bill Lawton,
The MI5 liaison.
MI5 liaison officer, Britain's domestic security agency. But our sources reveal he's actually a deep cover mole for the real IRA, the RIRA.
A dissent Republican group.
And his personal history is incredibly complicated. Adopted, birth parents, the Meagers, Irish Catholic, but raised by a Protestant family, the Lawtons, in Belfast.
And Bill's backstory is absolutely key to understanding the psychology here. The sources suggest his search for identity, that clash between his Irish heritage and Protestant upbringing during the Troubles, it made him vulnerable.
How so?
He was drawn to this figure, Father Kinsella, who then, groomed him for espionage. It wasn't just about ideology. It was twisting that basic human need for belonging, for purpose, making him think he was solving a puzzle, when really he was being deeply compromised.
And we learn Bill met Henri, a French intelligence officer in Paris, passed on critical info.
Yeah.
But Bill's getting nervous. He sees the RRA messing up, specifically mentions the bungled kidnapping attempt of Spinks, and he's worried it'll expose him.
That's the classic mole's dilemma, isn't it? You start with belief, maybe that puzzle-solving drive, but then the reality of working with a, let's say, less disciplined group like RIRA starts to bite.
Fear takes over.
Fear of exposure becomes everything. The sources suggest Bill's actually planning to quit the military during what he calls a zone of silence and confusion, basically trying to vanish before it all blows up. And the intel quality from a compromised source, it plummets when their personal risk goes up.
Okay, things ramp up significantly now. Back to Spinks. Still in the boot. Shot.
Full situation.
But he has this moment of clarity. He remembers his ace. A tiny transponder jammed under his seat, but the right way around.
Ingenious hiding place.
Hidden in his most dank nether regions, as the source puts it. A place Brennan, his kidnapper, missed. It's transmitting a signal. His last hope.
And that just shows the incredible resourcefulness, the meticulous planning they drill into these guys. These last resort devices are for exactly these crazy scenarios.
Right.
It's not just having the tech, it's the mental strength to remember it and use it under that kind of duress. It really speaks to the psychological conditioning.
Enter Stratton, key SBS operative, described as calm, unblinking, a guy clearly capable of taking the law into his own hands.
Reputation precedes him.
Definitely. Rumors about the death of an RRA sniper, Matthew McGinnis. Stratton doesn't mess around. He immediately grabs a Gazelle helicopter.
Commandeers it.
Yeah, and makes sure the cocky Lieutenant Flyboy pilot knows who's boss. He's told, point blank by the CEO, Mike, if you don't do exactly what the man beside you tells you, I promise I will use my considerable power to see you are court-martialed.
Wow. That reveals the kind of mindset needed for rapid response in these ops. Guys like Stratton, the source says, the only time he seemed to come to life was in the heat of action. They're crucial.
Why is that?
They'll bypass rules, exert extreme authority, make brutal calls when lives and intel are on the line. Command takes a calculated risk letting them operate like that, but it shows the moral tightrope they walk.
And here's where the mission takes a truly terrifying turn. Captain Sumners gives a briefing. New focus. Virus U.
Oh boy.
A biological weapon bought from Kazakhstan, just 6 fluid ounces, but capable of threatening hundreds of thousands of lives in a densely populated city such as London.
And just like that, the priority shifts completely. It's a stark recalculation. The directive becomes crystal clear. The priority now is the biological weapon. It's beyond the lives of anyone aboard that vessel.
So Hank's rescue is secondary now?
Essentially, yes. It's cold, pragmatic, Mass casualties override individual rescue. And the assumption, because RRA has limited transport resources, is that Hank and this virus are on the same ship, the Alpha Star,
Which is?
a 28,000-ton unregistered cargo ship. And the search area is huge Ipswich to Hull. It turns a desperate situation into a race against time, looking for a needle in a haystack.
Meanwhile, back in Boston, Catherine, Hank's wife, she's being manipulated.
By Father Kinsella.
By Father Kinsella, who we now know is an RRA godfather. He's coaching her on what to tell the media for RRA propaganda.
Using her grief.
Exactly. Her rehearsed line is, "I don't blame the IRA for holding my husband captive. They're only fighting for what they believe in."
That's textbook exploitation of personal tragedy. It's cynical. Catherine's an unwitting pawn, forced into this impossible moral spot, becoming a mouthpiece for a cause she doesn't get.
Horrible.
And the sources show how agencies, all sides, use public feeling, personal vulnerability to shape narratives. The fight for hearts and minds is just as key as any op. Kinsella, privately, sees Hank's potential death as invaluable publicity.
Grim. Okay, let's check back with Aggy. She's developed the secret relationship with Bill Lawton, the mole,
Complicated.
helped by Graham, the bleep, who covers for them. But Stratton, he's sharp. He's getting suspicious of Bill, connecting dots, Bill knowing about Spinks, the botched Paris op, Bill's recent Europe trip.
In that sequence, it highlights the meticulous nature of counterintelligence work, right? Pulling together seemingly random events to build a picture.
Yeah.
But what's really agonizing, the sources imply, is the toll on Aggy. She's basically tasked with betraying someone she cares about. It forces total mental compartmentalization, challenges her ability to square personal feelings with duty. Loyalty lines get incredibly blurry.
So Stratton sets a trap, calls Aggy off leave. This is big Aggy. Tasks her to meet Bill, get him out of his flat so Stratton can search it.
High risk for her.
Totally. And when Aggy looks in Bill's bag for an ops file, like Stratton asked, she finds guns, ammo, things that look like explosives. Her whole understanding of Bill just shatters.
And that discovery, it confirms Bill's deep infiltration, the huge risk he represents. The shock Aggy feels, it's not just betrayal, it's the undeniable proof of how completely she was fooled, confronting the reality of his double life right under her nose. It's a huge psychological break for an operative who has to rely on trust.
So despite her feelings for Bill, Aggy does what Stratton says. Stratton searches the flat meticulously, finds a hat box.
The one Catherine delivered.
Right. And a small briefcase with this odd bottle-sized sponge mold. And here, Stratton makes this incredibly audacious, terrifying move.
How does he do?
He mines the case with American Super X, described as their new lightweight door charge. He knows it might spread the damn virus into the air.
Whoa. That's the absolute edge of impossible choices in these ops. American Super X, it's modern, powerful, meant for quick entry. Arming it, knowing it could aerosolize the virus. That's a horrifying gamble.
A calculated risk.
A calculated, terrifying trade-off, yeah. The sources show it's made under extreme pressure. Sometimes the lesser of two evils still means risking catastrophe to prevent something even worse.
And just as he finishes, Brennan, the RRA kidnapper, shows up, takes Bill and Aggy hostage.
Nightmare timing.
Brennan's brutal. His words to Aggy are just degrading. She's tight as an arse. Tastes good, too. Then he turns to Bill with the ultimate threat. Billy, if you don't do the job, I'm going to kill her, then you. Using fear, loyalty, everything to force Bill's hand.
Pure manipulation.
The pace just explodes now. We're in a bus chase through London. Stratton's driving, backed by operatives Wilkes and Chaz. It's chaos.
Innocent people around.
Yeah, Stratton's yelling, "Let's get everyone off, and don't let anyone on," evacuating civilians. Then it hits him, the target. MI5 headquarters, a perfect place to put the virus, and Lawton, the perfect person to deliver it there.
That's a tactical nightmare in a city. Stratton's juggling immediate public safety with this massive biological threat. And targeting MI5 HQ isn't just about casualties, it's symbolic.
A direct hit.
A huge blow to national security. Forces the intelligence community into the open, makes stopping it even more critical and dangerous, balancing that immediate risk with the long-term fallout.
So the bus gets near MI5. Bill, Aggy, Brennan inside. Aggy spots Stratton, feels this surge. He was here and suddenly there was hope. She has seconds to decide what to do.
Intense pressure.
Then boom, an explosion on the steps of MI5. It's Bill. His final act, his dying words to Aggy are fragmented, a warning. K. Kinsella, priest. Father. Kinsella, godfather.
Bill's final act. It's complex, isn't it? A kind of redemption. The sources suggest he couldn't let innocents die just to save himself. That final moral calculation.
Even after everything.
Even then. And his words pointing to Kinsella as the godfather, It exposes the layers of manipulation right at the top of the RIRA. It also highlights how these long-term threats, these masterminds, can keep operating from the shadows. Kinsella becomes the bigger, more elusive danger.
But it's not over. Elsewhere, Hank Monroe is making his own escape from the cargo ship.
All right, the Alpha Star.
Seizes a gun when his captors get careless, fights his way out, jumps into the freezing water.
Desperate move.
And who rescues him? Spinks. Our first hostage pulls Hank from the water. Notes, he's got a few bullet holes in him, but he's alive. Just about anyway.
And that moment, one rescued guy saving another, it perfectly captures how intertwined their fates are. Highly trained, sure,
Yeah.
but constantly on a razor's edge where luck, timing, a colleague's help are just as vital as skills.
Yeah.
It hammers home the personal stakes, how every close call reinforces how fragile life is, and the bonds they forge in those moments.
So the immediate crisis seems over. Catherine arrives at Heathrow, expecting Hank. But she's met by Spinks and Aggy instead.
Awkward reunion.
They talk about Kinsella. Spinks says grimly, the devil you know. This war is going to last a long time. He's not going to get lost. And they make a decision about Catherine.
What's that?
Not to arrest her. Frame her as the wife of a hero who risked his life in the fight against terrorism. Her unwitting role in delivering that hat box, it'll remain a secret.
Which is pragmatic if morally gray. Arresting her creates a scandal, undermines the hero story they want for Hank. It's strategic, control the narrative, keep up the appearance of success, even while Kinsella, the real long-term threat, is still out there. Victory is rarely clean.
And Aggy, what about her future? And what about me, she asks.
Good question.
Stratton gives her practical advice. They'll want to keep the bio a secret. You could play hardball with them. The trick is to get them to decide it would be better to keep you in the fold. Basically, use what she knows as leverage.
And that speaks volumes about the power dynamics inside intelligence agencies, doesn't it? Especially when operatives know sensitive stuff. Her knowledge of the virus, of Bill's infiltration, it gives her leverage, albeit dangerous leverage.
Right.
Stratton's advice isn't just about career survival. It's about navigating a world where loyalty and truth can be secondary to operational needs, where your value often depends on managing your own secrets.
The story wraps up focusing on Stratton. Despite the mission's success, he feels no relief, just this persistent darkness that seemed to surround his soul.
Still empty.
He admits the only time he seemed to come to life was in the heat of action. He finds himself drawn to the east, where the stakes were the highest. It's like an endless cycle.
And that's a really poignant reflection on the psychological void some operatives experience. For some, that high-stakes environment becomes, well, almost an addiction, a way to cope with an inner emptiness. That darkness Stratton feels suggests there's no real off-switch from this life. The psychological impact is lasting. It keeps pulling them back to the edge. Makes you wonder if peace, a normal life, is even possible after what they've seen, what they've done.
Wow. What an incredible, intense journey we've covered in this deep dive. From that awful claustrophobia in the car boot through the complexities of a mole, the bravery of a few, and always that shadow of gleeble terror.
It really covers the spectrum. And it leaves us with, I think, a really provocative thought for you to mull over. In this world where heroes and villains aren't always clear-cut, where loyalty is constantly tested and identities are reshaped for the mission, how much of your true self can possibly remain intact? And what does it actually take for someone in that world, not just to survive, but to, keep their soul, especially when the system itself might be compromised and the cost of their actions is so incredibly high?
Powerful questions indeed, something for all of us to think about. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time.